Kuraudo was like the best friend of Purezento Maiku and Erasure Hero. But yeah, I don't think they ever mentioned this guy or at all before. I have zero recollection of this character ever being mentioned. So it definitely come kind of from like a spin there. Like, oh, this is our best friend that died, and he's like a normal now. He's actually this guy. Definitely came a little bit from Mr. Cider. I will say this thing though, and I think the episode was a good episode, but I think it's fair that obviously I would prefer something like maybe not in the Naruto sense. So I'm thinking about is very similar to Naruto in that sense, but still though, I would have preferred, of course, if Erasure had mentioned his dead best friend. Kakashi kind of comment. Not like every episode, but like once or twice, maybe like 50 episodes ago. It could have been like, oh, you remind me of, this guy or something. It would have made it better. Let's be honest. It would have made it better, right? So, for example, then, I want to spoil Naruto here, but I assume everyone basically has seen Naruto, right? But, yeah, Naruto, Kakashi-sensei has a dead best friend, right? And he keep mentioning that guy like 50 times over. No, but he mentioned it a few times. Or, for example, in, let's look at One Piece. One Piece is the best foreshadowing anime ever, right? Where it's just like, smile, man! Yeah, we like the Flamingo mentioned smile like 700 episodes before it's a thing or something, right? And Yosak and Johnny and someone talks about Jinbei before he, like 400 episodes before he appears to one. Yeah, that anime, that's crazy. He's like, I have this guy. And he's just crazy. That being said though, I also think that Oda has all his ideas, but if you asked him, 20 years ago, how is Jinbei gonna look? He probably couldn't tell you, right? But he's like, Jinbei, fish guy, right? And then it's like, 10 years later, this is Jinbei. So, I don't think he has everything perfectly, planned out 20 years before, but it definitely is seeding out those ideas, and then he kind of, makes probably the final making later, right? That's like only the reason way to do it. But anyway, I think that's fair to say, though. Honestly, I like the episode, but I think it would be better, of course, if they had a little build-up of this guy, right? Not like overly much. You could just mention him once or twice, right? You could have been like, oh, they're friends, yeah, like just drop it a little bit. And so on. But that's kind of what I mean. I think it was like a great scene, and of course, Ray is a really good character. So I liked it, and it felt emotional. But I still have to say, right, from an objective standpoint, it would have been a little more emotional, right, if it went that kind of the narrative route. Kakashi's like, oh no, here's my dead friend, he's back, or my dad, whatever, or something like that, because yeah, obviously it's very similar to Kakashi, both the character and storytelling. But you know what I mean. So I think that's my very fair comparison, right? Of course, with that anime or manga, whatever, it's overly, like it's just redundantly focused on his dead friends, right? He talks about it way too much. I would say, yeah. So there is too much, right? But a little bit. I think this was a great scene, but I do feel it lacked that final emotional touch, right? Because I'm seeing one of my favorite characters crying, he's all emotional, so it's a good scene, but because I just learned about this dead friend, I don't really feel like the emotional build-up is there, right? It's just kind of comes from nowhere. It's like, suddenly it's very sad. I'm like, oh, he's a good character, he's sad. I still think it works generally, but it's like, I think I was tearing up a little bit, but if I had this, again, right, the understanding of it's his dead best friend, he mentioned it a few times, right, and it would be more emotional. So I think it's like it's a little bit. Oh, it comes out of the left side, right? But the other is a good scene though. It's up an episode though where they're suddenly really throwing in a lot of this Nomu explanation here. I think one thing that the Nomu part makes the bad guys a lot more potent here, right? Is that the bad guys can just take dead people. I still think it's a little unclear, and I wish this episode had explored one detail. I think it's very, very important. They didn't explore at all. That was why did he die. Yeah, they didn't explain at all how he died. Because to me, it really felt like they were building up that the bad guys are attacking, the school because they have some good quirks. And of course, my immediate, theory is that they killed him on purpose, right? Like they were the guys that went and of course killed these children back in the days, right? You know what I mean? Like they don't know that the bad guys were behind his death, right, 20 years ago, whatever. But seeing this thing, they might have been like, wait a minute, was that the league 20 years ago? You know what I mean? Like that could have been a process they could have went through, right? They completely didn't talk about that. But I felt that when I saw the episode, I was like, well, I guess the bad guys attacked him, when he was a kid, right? And that's why he died. But yeah, they really didn't explore that topic whatsoever. I think that's a little weird because to me they felt like this has to be it, right? They killed him on purpose, blah blah so on, to get his quirk or whatever, right? So that was a little bit like, but I think it's interesting, very interesting though, how this makes the bad guys again, right, look a lot more potent, because they can like just get dead people. Yeah, they can create the enormous, but not even having to take the quirks, so to speak, right? With his power, they can actually just like go to the graveyard and pick up a dead body and like, oh, I can't beat that with this thing. But it makes sense though. When I watched the episode and I was reacting to it, I was like, actually, it kind of makes sense, because many of the quirks, I guess it depends a little bit what quirk it is, to be fair, I suppose. But a lot of the quirks are like, oh, this quirk makes you stronger, right? Like it's like a physical quirk. This makes your DNA, grow more muscles, whatever. And yeah, it feels like those quirks, if you take us like a body, right, and you just takes the body and give it life with whatever, mad Frankenstein experiment you have, the body would actually still retain those physical attributes, like for example, hard skin, or like Luke Cage, or the physical strength of All Might or whatever, right? So yeah, it makes sense that many of the quirks would work like that. Some other quirks though, but at the same time though, I do feel that some quirks from like a zombie body shouldn't work, I think. It depends, I guess, on what his quirk can do with the whole all for one for all. Those quirks can kind of manipulate other quirks, I guess. So maybe using his quirk, he can like take it anyway, I suppose. But from a purely like otherwise, I do think some quirks though would be feels a little stranger if it works from like a zombie body. Like telepathic quirks and telekinesis, they're kind of like mental quirks, like Shinsho, where it's like his brain. Well, I suppose that if you get the brain right, if you zombify the brain, but at the same time though, isn't that what is hardest to make active? So if it's a little bit like that, where the very physical quirks that are like, oh, this guy just has more muscles, or he's like faster or something. Yeah, they feel actually pretty easy to like take the body part and give it someone else. Yeah, like because just get the DNA right and make it stronger. But yeah, still though, the bad guys can appear to take people's body parts, yeah, from the graveyard. I think it makes an interesting point though, from a society standpoint. They did talk about have to cremate the body and so on, but yeah, it feels like they have to really like make sure that if someone dies, they really have to kill them. Like imagine All Might dying. No, I guess this question is gone now, but when he was famous and they took his body, right? That would be like, oh yeah, I can make shit with this thing. So it feels like the stronger the quirk is, then you really need to like delete that body, right? It's it definitely sets up that similar to like a zombie movie, right? That they always like destroy your friend's body entirely, yeah, because they don't get the powers and so on, and really make sure they do that. It is definitely a thing now. But one thing this episode I think unfortunately they missed out on, and I guess I kind of just didn't go into that, is what was his quirk before? Like what was his quirk before this? They didn't explain what Oboro's quirk was. So I'm a little bit like, wait, did he have the haste power? Or what was the extra quirk? Yeah, so that I think was a little, they didn't really explain exactly what he could do before he died. I think that would have helped us as the viewer being like, oh, maybe we can trigger him if we do this thing, because his quirk could do this teleporting, or his head the war power, or whatever, yeah. That wasn't really explained, so that's what I feel is the episode. The episode is good, but I felt they kind of went very generic with this, like, here's our dead friend. They didn't really explain what he actually did and so on, right? Or how he actually died, right? So it's a little bit like, yeah, but, can they trigger this thing? That's something, though, so that's why I keep, I'm just gonna give it my general theory, like how this is zombifying works, though. But I think it's interesting again, right, because go back to that Toya Dabi thing, I'm certain it's going to be the same guy, but Dabi looks like a zombie, obviously, with all the scars, and then we have these, like, oh, we can revive them, kinda. So is he maybe used like a revived Toya, right? And that's why he's so evil, because he's like, he has no soul anymore, you become a zombie, I don't know. But it feels very similar. The episode starts with a lot of asses. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the best part of the episode, of course. This is like, yeah. We got the Ashido buttocks, we got the Shu buttocks, we got the Urika buttocks. Very, very good episode. Like that was the best part easily. The first 2-3 minutes of just like all the girls in the, like very good. She doing some kind of, I don't know, is that her before she puts on some part of her cosplay or something? I don't know, it's like a weird There's of course you get the whole lovey-dovey. But yeah, then they show Momo. It's like a weird episode of it because they kind of like, I just do some fan service. Like here's Momo and she's always showing her oppies, but now she has like just yeah. I'm just saying like this was clearly the best part where we saw the fan service. We did this then, and then after we saw Bakugo, you know, flexing muscle and so on. But I love that like Leotard and Momo and so on. Yeah, very very good part. That was the best part. Nothing else mattered. But anyways, that's the review. Of course, today we have Tokyo Revengers. We of course have Yaya, which is really fun, and also Realist Hero. And yeah, we have Pirate Princess Fiona, which I might watch. I guess I don't know when it's out though. Yeah, quick check. When is that? When is this releasing? See that date on that? I don't see it here in the list though. I'm gonna take a quick check. When is it anime out? Kasuga Audio 2 episode. Yeah, it's an original anime, right, from production idea. It should be 2 episodes today, and it's out in like 18 hours, or probably like 19 hours from now. So very late tonight, we got 2 episodes of yeah, this new Pirate Girl anime, which I'm gonna check out, of course, do like a first impression and so on, right? Yeah, but I think it's gonna be 2 episodes today though. It's a bit longer video, but it's probably almost the end of the day, given how it's like from 18, 19 hours from now. Depends a little bit because they have 2 episodes, so they might drop them on the same time, or they're gonna drop them, you know, like with a wait period in between and so on. Little unsure here. But yeah, anyway, see you guys and have a great day. And I'll start in the chat before I. So they did mention him in the spin-off, okay. But yeah, obviously, yeah. So obviously the order's different, right? So yeah, the arc's supposed to be. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with this thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously the arc has been very weird, right? I mentioned it in the beginning of the movie because of the movie and so on, and it was. Yeah, and exactly the shows figure I could get in the obviously the quirk in the end, but or you know empower him and so on. But yeah, certainly because they kind of swapped it around and they have this thing now, and I mean I haven't read the manga, but I'm guessing right that this part is supposed to be before the Endeavor thing, I guess, right, or something between that. And they're supposed to have the. Yeah, they removed a lot of. But that's a good point. Yeah, they clearly have removed a lot of the villain scenes, or then changed the order, right? So maybe like next episode might have them, and it definitely makes it confusing how they have. And I mean, I say it every week, right? But I'm gonna do a long review about this, of course, when it's over. But I think it's very obvious this is the worst season of My Academia, like by a long shot, with the pacing issues, the recaps, and yeah, the confusing. Order of episode and all this stuff, right? It's a mess, unfortunately, and it doesn't help that they have like a full filler episode and they have and so on. But I do agree with that. I mean, I mentioned early in the reaction part that I was like, this is a good episode, but it definitely comes kind of out of nowhere. I think I probably said it like 3 times. Like, yeah, I feel it came kind of like, oh, this is a good, interesting flashback, but I don't understand how it relates to the current story, right? Yeah, like how does it? I said it in the end of the reaction. It's like I don't understand how it like relates into what we're currently seeing with the liberation thing, right? Because it feels very random. It's like time to just introduce this dead best friend, and yeah, here he is. It's kind of like here's the dead best friend, and deal with it. It definitely feels like that. I mean, they still might put them in if they do some kind of flashback thing, but yeah, I guess it's one thing that you also have the spin-off manga, right? So it's kind of like should also read that, I guess. I read it the first chapter, looked at it once a few years ago. I guess it's following the timeline, but they have removed. Well, I mean, I guess they're following the timeline, right? But they have removed scenes in between, so they're still following the chronological order, right? But they have removed like here should be maybe one part here and some part here, and it's kind of quicker going through it in some scenes. And also, I guess, I haven't shown the spin-off storyline and so on. But it definitely is a weirder. Yeah, that's a good point there. The whole Endeavor arc, we don't know what Hawks actually knows, so it's kind of like, yeah, we just kind of see him doing stuff, and it doesn't really mean that much. It probably will be better, right? Yeah, I mean, it's not that much tension seeing Endeavor figuring stuff out from the Hawks messaging. It's a strange season. But as I said, I'm gonna review the whole thing, and one thing I will definitely do before I do the full review, I mean, reviewing the whole season, right, when it's over, I wanna still let it be finished, right? So next season then, in the fall, is of course to read the manga, right? I'm gonna have to go and read the manga and compare it, and be that grouchy guy. The manga is much better than anime failed, but I will have to definitely read the manga and compare it. But now I'm just kind of like watching the episode and being like, well, I guess we're here. I'm gonna watch the episodes and see where it goes, right? But definitely, I'm gonna have to absolutely want to read the manga and compare it, and maybe do a manga reaction, I suppose, or whatever. But something like reading the manga and of course see the differences and see how it looks, probably more intelligent or whatever, right? Yeah, so I mean they so it's like so flashback with the back and so on. Yeah, of course. It's weird, but this art definitely misses the builds ups, and I think, as I said again here, this episode itself felt good, but it also felt random. Like why are we suddenly doing the sensei backstory kind of thing? Here we are. It's very weird. I don't think it helps either, right? That they have like the skipping a few weeks of episodes, their filler and so on. Yeah, it doesn't make it better as a week thing, right? Doesn't make it better whatsoever as a weekly watcher either. I think I said what you mean. Like the Endeavor arc probably was. I'm guessing now, right? You have the Endeavor stuff happening. Then you every now and then see the bad guys doing stuff in the background, but it has much more meaning. In the anime, when you see the Hawk scenes, it doesn't have much like purpose, right? You don't really feel much emotion seeing those scenes. You're like, okay, whatever. So there's no tension, right, in the background, what's happening. But it's gonna be an interesting read, definitely. I feel every week I hear this stuff, right? People are always saying that, oh yeah, the manga is so much better and so on. That's usually how people say with everything, and I tend to agree. I think most mangas are better than the animes to some extent, but it's usually how it is, right? But yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting read. I feel very interesting read. But as I said earlier, I have absolutely no problem saying I think this is by far the worst season of Academia. I think it's just a very, very slow, very weak-paced season, and it doesn't have, of course, to have a lot of recap, like just unnecessary recaps and filler episodes, and a lot of this stuff at the same time. Of course, nothing's happening. But yeah, there's absolutely no tension really in the Hawk and Endeavor scenes in the anime. I mean, I guess you could argue there's like this very slight tension than it is in the book, but it's not real tension. You don't really feel. I guess one thing that I'm just guessing here, why it's pretty bad, is that you as the anime only guy, you have no idea like what is happening. Like in the sense that you don't understand like the time frame. I guess you don't understand the time frame. So as an anime only, you're like the bad guys are doing something, okay. But you have no understanding of how much time does like Endeavor have on him to figure out the clues. Right? Is it like 1 hour? Is it a year? You have zero understanding of like the actual urgency of the good guys to figure out what the bad guys are doing, right? So, but I guess in the manga, of course, because they skipped a lot of those Hawk and the bad guy scenes, right? You actually would know that, okay, this shit's gonna go down in like a week from now or whatever, right? But in the anime, you're just like, it's something happening with the bad guys, and the good guys like an hour is trying to figure it out. I mean, it doesn't really have that, like, there's no deadline, there's no time frame, there's no explanation of when we're actually gonna get there. I think that's, I'm guessing why that would be what is lacking, probably. Well, but that makes sense though, that they would like censor the gore, right? That is how they have it doing. Yeah, there's no real build up for the bad guys. And the bad guys is powerful, man. These bad guys is powerful. But on the point of the gore, I mean, that's how it has to do with the anime. Like, this anime, right? This anime is airing in a very, like, early date and so on. They have to just kind of be like, well, you know, it's anime. We can't really show blood and so on. That's just how it is, right? Especially these kind of animes. Like with the, you know, the actual... how to say it? An anime like Macadamia is important when they air, right? Some animes air later and so on different dates, right? And they can have less and more censoring. It's like harder to have an anime like this anime on this air date to have blood and so on, of course, because it's more aimed at like the children with the time and so on, right? No, the anime is for children, but it's like the actual air time is more like, well, this is for younger people, so it's like they can't have too much gore and so on. But certainly I have no idea how strong the bad guys actually are. No idea whatsoever. Man, this is getting more and more confusing. Yeah, this is getting more and more confusing. Maybe I'm just ruining the experience, but I feel it's already ruined anyway, so I'm just gonna... I have not reacted to Yojo. I am not up to date with Yojo. Not up to date with Yojo, man. Not at all. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching a pirate anime. No, but I mean, it's from Production ID though. Production ID, of course, most of those all the good sport animes like Hayaku and Ballroom and so on, and Round the Wind and so on. So, you know, a very good company. Hopefully it's going to be a Unison Square Garden opening then, because they're also really good openings. But anyway, guys, see you guys later with pirate anime and what's the first thing? Erasure Hero, I guess, like 10 hours from now. It's a big gap on Saturdays. It's like 10 hours break and render and so on. There'll be a lot of evening stuff to do then. I'm going to One Piece very late then. And One Piece, we soon have my favorite character One Piece, right? That's going to be awesome. Yeah, and there's no remake today, but I've dropped the anime, so I don't care honestly. Yeah, I dropped remake, man. It's just I say one quick team with remake. I say it all the time, right? Remake our life. The guy also be a game producer, which I have worked in real life with that, and he becomes a movie producer. He's like, oh, I changed my life so much. And I was like, that's the same job. The anime makes no sense because his dream is he's tired of being a game producer. He wants to be more creative. He time travels back in time, and because a movie producer is basically almost the exact same job. You have to just be a producer of, you know, creative people, and they are annoying at you, and they're like, oh, I missed my deadline and so on. It's the exact same shit, man. It's like, it's basically almost the exact same job in real life. So I'm just like, well, that guy time traveled, and he really didn't do much better. So I'm just like, why couldn't he time travel to be an artist? He wanted to be creative, he claimed. Whatever, guys, see you with Erasure Hero, right? First thing, wait a minute. So I want you guys to have a great day.